Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about my NAL 2025 power rankings. And if you didn't know, the NAL League is going to be starting very, very shortly. In fact, on June 12th, which is about a week from now. So coming up very, very quickly. And if you don't know anything about the format, it's a round robin. They're going to be playing twice a week, so 12th and 13th, and then the 19th, 20th, the 26th, 27th, followed by a super week in July where we're going to see them the 10th, 11th, and 12th. It's going to be based off points, and the top 6 are going to make it to the stage finals, where it'll be a double elimination bracket, and the top 4 will be getting major spots. So going into that, start talking about power rankings a little bit. We're going to start with LG, which I want to get them out of the way because, as of today or as of yesterday or whatever it's been at this point, LG is no longer the organization they under. It is Students of the Game. That is the name they're going by. LG has left the scene, but this is still the LG roster. But it's going to be Eddie and Kixrow from the old LG roster, and then they got Epic Fens and Bino, who are notable T2 players. Bino having played for CL4L, been at the Montreal Major. So a little bit of a newer team with some newer players to be in PL, and for that reason, I'm going to have them in the C tier. I think there's a lot of unknowns. I don't know what their roles are going to look like, if they're going to understand the meta really well, or how they even face or match up against some of the juggernauts of the league. So again, a little bit of a question mark. I have them kind of up and down. It's best of ones. Anything can happen, but C tier for now. Next up is going to be OXG. OXG did make quite a number of changes. They kept Gomez and Yaga, and then they got Adam from Unwanted, Forrest from SSG, and Grixer from Shopify. So this little bit of a question mark for me, because Auction, I actually thought they were pretty bad. If you look back before SI, but they ended up making SI, and they made a run. They got top 8, and scrimming against those guys and playing against those guys, they got so much better. And I don't know if that's props off to the staff that they brought in, or Gomez is the IGL. But I actually thought they were making, again, they were looking really, really good. And now they're bringing in 3 new players, shaking up that whole roster. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to gel. I also kind of have concerns with the little bit fit into the roster. I'm not sure who's the entry. They look like they could be a little bit slower of a team. Forrest is obviously very, very good on the meta ops, but again, a lot of unknowns for me. I'm also going to be putting them in the C tier. I think it's a little bit of a mishmash of a roster, and hopefully it gels, but only time will find out. Cloud9, we actually, and this is the first team we got to see at Reload, but Cloud9 is one of the newest organizations that we have in the NAL, and it's also a brand new team. We got Dream from Unwanted, Giddy, who was in T2 playing with like Mr. B. He was also on CL4L and was also at that Montreal Major with Packer. Kobe Lax is from DZ, Packer is from M80, and Silent is from LG. So again, another mishmash roster, but we did get to see them, and they did get a little bit of experience at Reload. However, it was up and down for them, beating PSG and Scars, but losing to Liquid, G2, and M80. Almost a stereotypical NA team that can be APAC teams, but nobody else. However, I do think they had a pretty good understanding of the meta, and with that experience at Reload, I think that's going to help them for the NAL, so I am going to put them in B tier. I think they're just a little bit ahead of LG and OXG at the moment. Next up is DZ, and for DZ, they still kept NJR, Pambazel, and Nafe. However, Bolo is retired, and they did remove Kobe Lax and replaced with Spirits, who I think is the best roster move pickup of the season for anybody in the NAL. I absolutely love Spirits. I love working with him. I think he is the quintessential, perfect player in this meta, especially with the ban phase the way it is now. This guy can not only, obviously he can play shields, and everyone knows he can play shields at a very, very high level. In fact, I think he's the best shield player in the world. But if you ban the shields, this guy can still run Yang Shotgun. He can still play Glaz, and if he's not playing any of those, he can still lurk on you with SMG 12 on Dokubi, who I think he's one of the best players I've seen on the SMG 12 as well. Very, very good pickup, and I think very smart pickup from DZ. They needed someone to play the meta operators. That is exactly what they were lacking. The Citizen pickup, I think we were all kind of wondering if this was the right move for them and kind of questioning it. However, at Reload, I actually, and thinking about it a little bit, I think it was really, really smart. It almost gives me the feels of the Charlotte Major winning team. I think now they have a very, very smart and experienced team. They win in those clutch situations. And again, they finally were able to kind of get the monkey off their back and take down Furia 7-2, which was their most impressive game at Reload. And taking down a Brazilian team, which they have notoriously struggled with. I think they also understand the ban phase extremely well. And again, having Spirits is a weapon for the ban phase. So I'm going to be putting them in S tier. I think they're going to give teams in the NA fits. And I don't see any reason why they shouldn't finish in the top 2. So hang in there, DZ fans. Next up is Wildcard. And we also got to see Wildcard at Reload. They did make some changes. They kept Kansan, Spiker, and Bay and added Baby Shark and Dash. And everyone was wondering who the heck is Baby Shark and why are we picking up T2 French players? But I think he did impress. He at least impressed me at Reload. They were lacking some firepower. The old Wildcard was definitely lacking some. They would just run the same strats over and over again. They had no real adaptation to them, and they were lacking the firepower to really execute them. So I think Baby Shark definitely gives them a different level there. And then also Dash from the W7M winning roster adds a lot of experience to this roster. But not even just that. I don't even want to undersell the guy on that, because if we look at stats for Reload real quick, Dash was one of their top performers, and I don't think that was much expected from them. As it will open. So go to full stats, group players by team. If we go to Wildcard, Dash was plus 13 and 21 and 13 on the entry, which is absolutely huge. Again, this team used to be a pretty slow team and not being able to get the frags. Dash stepped up. A lot of clutch moments too at the end rounds where this guy was just absolutely clutch for them, playing Blackbeard and Smoke mainly. So huge pickups for them, and I think it showed because at Reload, they were able to get a third, fourth place finish, and you can say whatever you want about the event, Mickey Mouse event, but beating Scars, beating G2, SG, Secret, Elevate, and getting top 4. I think they impressed me strategically. Maybe they didn't play any really strong teams, so it's very hard to judge, but I'm still going to put them just above Cloud9. I think they're the 5th best team in NAL. I think they got the experience now. Their strats look pretty good, and if anyone is to upset one of these top 4 teams, one of the juggernauts, I think Wildcard in a best-of-1 situation could be that team. Next up is SSG. SSG, if we would have did a power rankings before Reload, I would have put SSG as the number 1 team. Just based on the word I was getting from every NAL coach in my ear telling me that SSG was the best team in scrims. This new roster is insane. Newers is absolutely insane. And Newers did impress. Newers absolutely did impress at the major. He also might have been their top performer, and he looked really good. But the question mark for me is the role change, because it put Ashen on the meta operators, and I think he was struggling a little bit on the shields, and I think they need to kind of get this practice time after Reload. Obviously, they didn't do very good at Reload. They started off with that G2 win, and then after that, we realized G2 was not a good team, and this win wasn't that impressive. And then they lost to DZ, they lost to FearX, they lost to Wildcard. Again, I think they need that time to kind of figure out the roles and Ashen to get more comfortable in that system. But I still have them as a top 4 team. I still think they're an A-tier team in the NAL. The roster just looks way too strong on paper. I don't think they'll have any problem with that. Next up is Cruelty. For those who don't know, the NAL, again, because we are 10 teams, Cruelty was the team that qualified throughout the LATAM North Challenger Series. So this is now a new spot that you can win a spot in the NAL. However, again, I'm going to put them in D tier. What my time in T1, we would scrim Mexican teams quite often. And they didn't do very well. And I arguably, maybe not even a hot take here, think there's some T2 teams that are better than Cruelty, Mr. B's team being one of them, Revelations, who ended up losing to JJ's team. I think they are better than Cruelty and would have put on a better show. I think Cruelty is going to get destroyed, but this is almost an experiment for the NAL to see if they can kind of compete. Maybe they'll shut me up, but I don't really have them beating anybody. Next up, we got M80. We also got to see them at Reload. This is basically the Beast Coast major winning team, except minus Spirits with Kino. I think Kino's great. I think Spirits is a better fit for these guys, but Kino is also really good. Like, he also plays the meta operators. So their role-wise, they're all good there. Kino's very, very good at specifically even like Glaz, but he can play the shields and things like that. So they're going to be the same team. They're going to be very, very competitive. They struggled a little bit at Reload. They lost to W7M 7-8, but W7M was a very, very strong team at the event. They beat PSG 7-0, Falcon 7-5, Cloud9 7-5, and fell to Secret 1-7. If any team kind of lost to the format, it might have been M80 because they went 3-2 and still didn't make playoffs. Maybe they didn't play to the format of Reload very well, but I still think internationally, M80 is one of the best teams that we have in NA, but domestically is where I might have a problem with them. I am going to put them in third place and above SSG. But yeah, we've seen Beast Coast when they won the major, they had a really slow start and then they picked it up at the end of the season. And then the following season after they won the major, they were very, very bad domestically in NA, and it just looked like, I don't know what it was, their work ethic, or they were in their minds, or what it was not good. So a little bit up and down. I still have them finishing top 4. I don't see a way that they fall out of top 4, but there are those question marks for me. I think they'll be happy with this if they make the major, because again, they really shine internationally. Next up is NV, which is the newest organization to enter the NAL, just acquiring JJ Blast Team, and JJ Blast Team comes from Challenger League Series. They ended up winning their spot in T2, and that's Emilio, JJ, Rival, Snake, and Twist. And yes, that is Snake from the Bolo and TSM days. Good team on paper. I still have in C tier. It's going to be the same thing as LG, where they're a little bit of a question mark. I do think JJ understands the game, but I don't know if they have enough fragging power to compete with the Juggernauts. I think they need a stage to really kind of get comfortable, figure out their identity. JJ did mention that they want to stay a roster for a solid year and kind of figure things out together, and I think that is the right move. But yeah, I think that the first stage for them is just going to be figuring out who they are, figuring out their roles and all that, figuring out the meta, and then we might be able to see them compete a little bit more in stage 2. And then last but not least, we got Shopify. We didn't get to see them at Reload, unfortunately. With their new roster, they got rid of Grixer, added Spoit. And for me, I think this is a really, really, really good change for Shopify. I think the old Shopify, or Sonics previously, they're very good domestically. They have no problems there. I think they ended up winning the last NAL, actually. But the problem internationally, I feel like, is when they get to these LAN events, it's basically the Ambi show, and if Ambi doesn't show up, it's kind of problems for them. So adding Spoit, they added a ton of fragging power there, obviously. And then it's going to cause a little bit of role changes and things like that, but I think they're going to be really comfortable. I think they got the right players in some spots. Surf has really, really impressed me on this Sonics roster, the Shopify roster. I have them finishing first in the NAL. I think they're the strongest team on paper, and again, role-wise, I think they fit almost better than anybody. I don't think they should struggle at all in the NAL, and I think internationally it might be fixed, but we'll see at the next major. So this is who I have in the top 4. Again, if anyone was to fall out of here, I think the only team that really has a shot at stealing a spot right now in my head is Wildcard, but we got to see the matches. And speaking of that, again, matches start a little less than a week from now on Thursday, the 12th. I'll be co-streaming every single match on my Twitch, twitch.tv/mint, if you guys want to come by and watch. But that's going to be it for the power rankings, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the video. If you liked it, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe. I would love to keep pumping these videos out for you guys. So if there is a site you guys are struggling to attack or defend or even just understand in Pro League, please drop a comment down below and I'll get to it, and we'll see you in the next video.